Everybody, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to LEGOthon this late in the day here. I'm Scucker, and I'll be running LEGO Alpha Team Arctic Mission. It's a Flash game that came out in 2004. It was just on LEGO.com for many, many years, and I used to play this a lot as a kid, and as it turns out, it's a kind of decent speed game. At least it is. I think so, at least. I'm the only one that runs it, so I'm the only one, therefore, with an opinion on it, I think. I strongly encourage people to actually, if they've ever played this game before in the past, I think it's pretty fun, honestly. It's really fast-paced, a lot of clips, some cool stuff you can do in this game. So, well, without further ado, I'll get started here. For Justin's timer, 3, 2, 1, go. So the game is basically divided up into 3 different episodes, basically, that are in the form, at least on my computer, of a couple different executable files here. So the first level is about 5 minutes long, basically, and the objective is pretty much go point to point with this tundra tracker here. And we're going to hit a bunch of checkpoints throughout the level, basically. That's going to basically activate bridges and provide us the path pretty much to get to the end of the level. Unfortunately, as of right now, there is no cool out-of-bounds clip for this first area. So we just kind of have to, you know, go fast, do it the old-fashioned way. So right off the bat here, you saw me go into alpha mode there. Basically, every vehicle in the game that you can use here has like an alpha mode, which, as you saw there, basically transforms the vehicle into a different form for different purposes. So, for example, in this case, I was using the magma drill, which basically is used to drill ice in this level, so we can go to different points. So you can see the start of it here, the first minute or so, like I said, just kind of going point to point for checkpoints here. We have to activate the couple checkpoints to cross these bridges here to get to the next part of the level here. Generally speaking, the enemies aren't much of an issue here. The bigger issue is what I just did there, which is not what I wanted to do. Going into these bottomless black pits here, which I almost did again because I hit like a patch of ice, which they decided to code into this old Flash game. And it just did it again to me right there, so it's a little tricky to get around these guys here, and assume you can avoid the enemies. Wow, that was quite the unfortunate first section here. I might actually have to take an early death. But we're going to enter this area. I actually like to do this as the magma drill, just because, generally speaking, it's a bit slower and it's easier to navigate this area. If I switch back to the tundra tracker, you see how fast I go, and I'm actually, you can kind of barely see it there, but I'm actually jumping a little bit. So there's a chance if I make a quick turn, I might just get flung over the side into a bottomless pit of despair. This part's kind of cool here. Basically, excuse me, sorry, I have to activate a bridge that's up in the top left corner of this section of the map here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, hit a bunch of checkpoints, basically. Kind of play tag, because there's one checkpoint in the bottom left corner of the map that I have to hit. And that activates the final bridge to get out of this area. But the cool thing is there's a couple death warps here. Normally you don't have to restart after losing all your health there, but that's just a quick little trick there I can use to spawn a bit closer to this checkpoint. And then I'm just kind of going to shoot up into this next area here. And there's another pretty useful, actually, death warp here, because what you have to do is kind of go in, I guess tunnels is the right word to use here. Go through these tunnels here to get to the next one. We're going to use that black pit right there in a second, because the next checkpoint's right here, and that's going to activate this bridge, which activates the path to the next checkpoint. So we're going to go back through the tunnels here and take another death. Take advantage of that respawn while we still have full health, as you can see on the right side. That green bar there is my health there. Because I lost a lot of it earlier, I had to take a death and go back to the menu and hit continue. Oh, that's unfortunate there. I had to go back to the menu and hit continue because I died there. What I was just trying to do there was skip one of the checkpoint barriers. Basically, the checkpoints in this game that decide where you spawn, you basically just kind of pass over them. If you kind of go close to the edge there of that little pit, you can kind of avoid that, and that way it gets you a respawn at that spot that I just respawned now. So I'm going to do that again here.
Do a quick donation?
Say again, sorry?
Can I do a quick
Yeah,
donation?
go for it. Absolutely.
We have $20 from Bearhead, and he just says, who doesn't love long late-night runs? And he's probably referring to the Pirates Bingo, which will be up after this.
Let's go.
Thank you, Bearhead.
Thanks a lot, Bearhead. So we're just going to move out of that area now into the next little section of the level. We're going to get into the magma drill here. A little bit low on health here, so I might take a death, which isn't a huge deal. You saw how fast it takes to actually respawn after losing all your health. It's kind of a pointless feature in my opinion, but it's there nonetheless. We're just going to kind of shoot up here. I'll play it a little bit careful around those electric enemies, I guess you call them. Mines, maybe. So we have to activate this bridge here, and then we're just going to... I won't play it safe here, just making a quick turn. I don't think there's any more guys that are going to hit me here, so yeah. We have to cross these bridges really carefully. Just about took a death on that guy. That'll be fine. I'll actually go up here. So this bridge is a little tricky here, because across this one... Whoops, looks like I took full death there. This bridge I kind of just have to shoot straight across, and then there's some ice I have to kind of avoid right here, and you can see if you make one mistake there, you'll hit those things and it'll bounce you right into the hole there. So I'll try again. Hopefully I can just kind of shoot right through. I'll play it a little bit conservatively, just so I don't lose my legs entirely there. And it's actually better here not to take a death and recross the bridge, because usually you can just kind of shoot right across, assuming you don't get flung into the pit again like that. There's another ice patch here, so I'm just going to switch to Magma Joe really quickly, because I'm going to have to use him anyway, and I'll take advantage of that lower speed. So we're just about to the end of the first level here. Gotta be quite careful, because I'm actually really close to death here. And that'll do it for the first area here. I'm just going to not go into that pit here, and that'll be the end of the first level. So this end mission screen will play, and I'll be able to quit out of the game here and open up my second file, which gets me into the second part of the game here. And once you get into the second and third levels, that gives you options to use a couple more vehicles in the game, and you can see here, these are two characters that weren't used in the first little area here. It's a little bit easier to explain if you kind of know Alpha Team lore, which I don't expect really anyone to do, because it's more or less just a LEGO set from the early 2000s, and there really hasn't been any talk about that. I don't think since it went away in 2005, 2006, whenever it was. Left Behind, this really good game, though. The other thing we're going to get into in this second area is we're going to be using flying vehicles, which we're going to use to get out of bounds in a couple different spots. So, starting with the Blue Eagle here, really quickly, it's kind of hard to catch what happened there. I kind of just flew over to the next part of the map where I actually have to use Alpha Team here to go into the Ice Glider mode here, which is basically just the ground vehicle version of the Blue Eagle. And I'm going to do my first out-of-bounds clip here, quote-unquote. Basically, it's kind of hard to tell as well, but there's like a line here that I position my Blue Eagle just right here. And these are really tricky too, and dare I say, incredibly inconsistent, so I'm just going to basically just spam shift for the next little while and hope it works. Ideally, you take this at a little bit of an angle here, and also ideally you're not moving up and down too fast there. So you see I got it there, no problem. That way it's that enables me just to get to the next part of the level here and to the end trigger. So part 2, oops, sorry about that. Part 2 here includes 3 different parts to it, I guess. So that was like the first mission, I guess, in this game here. So we're going to switch now, and we're going to get the Tundra Tracker back, which we're actually not going to use at all in this episode too. And we're going to use the Ice Blade, which is like another flying vehicle here that I'll show you. So you see we spawn as the Tundra Tracker here, and this is the Ice Blade, which we spent the entire first level basically trying to meet up with this guy. So now we're going to use him, and the objective of part 2 here is basically to go across the entire map up to where the Ice Glider is, where we finished the last part of the mission. It's all like the same giant map, and yeah, all we got to do is basically meet up with him. So in theory, that is the hardest clip in the game right there, which I just got instantly. So we're just going to be able to shoot through here, kind of between the wickets of the boundary of the map here. And as we get here, we'll be able to switch into the helicopter, and we are officially out of bounds of the map. So it's good. The rest of the level is actually pretty easy here. All we have to do is kind of just fly around the perimeter, and up here there's a way to clip back into the map kind of later on in the level, if you will. Oops. Take it nice and easy, try and get in here and switch. Perfect. And yeah, now it's just a matter of kind of booking into the finish line here. I'll see if I can get this really quickly. Not quite there. Ideally, you can kind of switch as you're kind of flying in there. But I got to play this part kind of carefully, because if I die, I respawn all the way at the beginning and lose all my progress I made here. So nice and carefully off the edge there. And it looks like we're going to be good, because we can just kind of fly right here, which is where the end level trigger is. So pretty quick 2-2 there, and we're going to move into the third and final part of this episode here. I will say too, this run is pretty short. I'd expect it to probably end up, based on that clip there, probably just over 20 minutes, I'd imagine. So mission 3, we have to rescue one of our friendly agents here, and ideally we'd go into Ogle's fortress. Ogle, I should mention too, is kind of the main villain of the Alpha Team series, and he's kind of responsible for freezing a desert over. That's kind of the whole plot of this game anyway. I'm going to take a quick death here and hopefully get a respawn at the start here. If not, there's just a backup. I'd have to slowly move my way back to an out-of-bounds area, but it looks like we're going to get it no problem here. And the gist, really, of this level, too, is we're just going to do the exact same out-of-bounds, except we're going to go to a different part of the map here that's actually a little bit closer to. So we'll get on our knees and pray for the out-of-bounds gods to give us a good one here. I'm trying to aim for a line that's right about here, but trying to move forward with the helicopters a little bit easier said than done. Oops. There we go. Looks good there. So once you get it set up, I find that clip, I said it was one of the harder ones in the game, but I actually do find it easier than the one that's coming up in the next episode in part 3. So Alpha Team's daring mission to save their agent really just consists of this out-of-bounds that skips everything you have to do to unlock getting to the final area of the map, which just happens to be right here. So we're going to go inside this fortress, basically, which is where the agent's being held. So I'll be able to go in as Charge here and switch to the character. There's quite a few of these fortresses that, thankfully, we skip most of them, even though they are kind of fun. I enjoy playing them. I used to think you had to have all 3 characters in this area, so that's what we used to do, is find a way to get the Tundra Tracker, and that used to be the bottleneck, and then I figured out that, oh, you actually don't need all 3 characters. And I'll show you why we need Charge, at least in here. Ideally, you go further down into the fortress, and that's kind of where the end level trigger is when you get to the next agent. You can't get down there without unlocking these doors, which is why we have to bring Charge in here to stand on that little activator there. So now that we're finished with Charge, we're going to activate the Ice Glider and do the next part of this. For some reason, the only area you're actually able to switch to the plane is like in this top left corner there, and even then it's kind of inconsistent where that spot actually is. There it is. And we have to do the same thing where we're just gonna kind of hope we get lucky here on this line, because there's a very subtle line that's kind of hard to notice here that we're gonna try and clip up out of bounds. There we go. So we'll just go straight up, and now we're out of bounds of the map again. So that one's pretty easy, actually. And we're just gonna fly down to the same spot as we did with the Ice Blade at full speed in the Blue Eagle here. And nice, we even got the quick switch there. So now we got to bring Dashing, because he's going to be used for the rest of to end the level here. He's the only one we need. We managed to skip basically this entire level and everything we had to do in the meantime, all the fortresses, everything like that. And there's quite a few of these puzzles and such that you have to kind of figure out as you go along here, I guess. So I'll just do pretty much the same route that I took as Charge there, and I'm going to go to the bottom of the map here. Now that these doors are open, I have to use this blue panel as Dash for some reason. I don't know why. But you see Radia's down there, and I'll be able to just stand next to her, and that'll be the end level trigger. Right there. And that's it for part 2. So we'll open up episode 3 here, and we're just going to kind of keep flying through this. The first 2 episodes go by pretty quickly, I'll be honest. Like, that was about 12 minutes I took, I guess, there to get through those. So this one's a bit more interesting because we can't actually just cheese it by doing out of bounds the entire time. We actually have to do some real gameplay here as well. That dude on the right there, we don't actually have to use him in the entire playthrough here. Because it's kind of funny because you only get 5 characters to use, and you're supposed to use them all for the puzzles. There's like a 5-minute section at the start if you don't do any out of bounds that we actually just completely skip. So we'll just switch right to the Blue Eagle. Old friendly airplane, and we're gonna do the other kind of difficult out of bounds clip here. This one, I promise, is actually the hardest one in the game. The other ones are hard, but this one is just like completely chance, it feels like sometimes. The other thing with this one too is there's a couple different spots you can actually do this along the wall here, so I'm probably gonna try this one a little bit here. There we go. It looks like it worked there. The first time, obviously, you activate alpha mode, you have to watch this little cutscene or whatever. There's really nothing to do about that. Fortunately, it is only the first time. But what we're going to do, we're going to back up and just go into this section of the map, which skips quite a while here. We're actually not supposed to get here until the second part of this level. But we do have to open a couple gates with the Ice Glider here, so we're going to do that real quick before we go straight to the end level trigger. That one you saw was for that gate there, which will help us later on in the level when we have to use a different vehicle. This one's actually just going to activate the gate so we can get back out here and then activate the end level trigger. It just makes it so much easier anyway. We do have to do that anyway just for the next vehicle, but makes ending this part easier as well. This out of bounds isn't hard at all. You can kind of just actually spawn in. kind of anywhere here. Whoops. Assuming I don't get shot the whole time. There we go. And it looks good, so I'll just kind of fly over here. I have to activate this on the ground as the ice glider, and then I'll just try and get myself as far that way as I can. And that's the first part of episode 3. So now we have to catch up with the Ice Blade and Tundra Tracker again, except we're going to be introduced to a new vehicle, the MCC, the chunky boy here. Unfortunately, there's no out of bounds or anything we can do of that regard here with this vehicle, so we just kind of have to do it the old-fashioned way here. And I'll explain why in a minute, because the bottleneck of this level is actually you have to do a specific thing that you can only do with this vehicle to activate the end level trigger. And that also means we have to do this interior as well, so this is really the second of 3 that we do in this run here. And at this point, it's honestly just as straightforward a route as jumping over, going to the right panels here, because we have to activate one panel that's blocked there by those red lightning bolts, or whatever you want to call them here. The ones directly under me now there. So to do that, we have to deactivate this one, and then go over here to activate this panel. And that does us the liberty of deactivating those red lightning bolts there, so we'll be able to get down and hit that panel, which all it does really is just unlock another door. See if I can, whoops, that's not going to be the right one there. See if I can get over that way. Nope. I always try and go for that anyway, just in case. Ideally, if you kind of slip through the cracks there, it's a little bit faster. So activating that panel, as you saw there, just deactivates those things. So we're just going to head right down there, and there's 2 more panels, basically, we have to get in here. And one of them is going to unlock that door, and then that's going to unlock the next panel, which unlocks the gate to the last area of this part of the level. Right there. And then just down through this gate to the right there is where the end level trigger is, so I'll be able to just kind of get out of here as fast as I can. Hopefully these scorpion dudes don't screw me over. Ooh, we were able to shoot him with one shot here. Those are our friends that we used in the last couple levels here. This is how you end the level, by backing up to that ice orb with this vehicle. So because that's the way to end the level there, we don't really have a choice but to do all that with no out of bounds or anything. Unfortunately, that's just the bottleneck for that part. There are a couple out of bounds clips now. We don't actually have to use any of those guys for the rest of the level. We can just switch back to our old friend the Ice Glider here. And we're going to do the reverse of the out of bounds that we just did at the start of episode 3. Try and get this clip on the line here. It's the same bad clip in reverse, really. What I'm doing is basically just trying to spam both my shift keys with my fingers here, trying to get as many inputs as I can here. I just kind of have to hope it catches. I believe it has something to do with the way that you bounce off the red lightning there. If you're too far from it, I think that's part of it. You won't be able to spawn in. Yeah, I knew one of these wasn't gonna cooperate today, so we'll worry about this a little bit for now. That's a pretty straight line. We'll see if that works. Nope. Yeah, if there's one detractor to this category, like, it is really fast-paced too, and it's a lot of fun, I find, but having to deal with a clip like this, or having to lose a run to it, can be really frustrating too. Like, you see we got it there, but there's really not really a consistent setup to it right now, so you kind of just have to give her and hope it works. This out of bounds is a little bit funny here. We kind of just have to get in here, and we kind of have to just kind of squeeze through. So what I'm doing is kind of backing up here and then doing like subtle turns. We got that first one really quick here. Let's hope we can kind of get our way through this one here. It's more or less a matter of getting the right turn, so you kind of just squeeze between the geometry at the right point here. Holy mackerel, it's fighting me today. It's a really tight area, and then having that lightning enemy dude right in the way there doesn't help either. Looks like we got it there, perfect. So now this is Ogle's Fortress, basically, here. We have to go into this kind of forward operating base type of thing. This is the longest fortress in the game. A little bit shorter because we know what we're doing, but... So we're just going to be able to go up here, basically, and this is going to activate the first gate that lets you into the fortress, and then once we're in, we're going to be able to do a quick out of bounds, and that'll kind of solve the rest of our problems here. And then we'll almost be at the end of the game. So it's just a matter of climbing ladders, pretty much. There's one section coming up that can be a little bit tricky as well. what you see I am doing sometimes, if I kind of poke my head up at the top of a ladder there into the geometry and I hit shift, it'll kind of just pop me up a little bit early so I don't have to climb all the way up. You saw me do it just there. I'm going to do this up here where I'm basically going to make a really long jump, and I missed it anyway. This is like the trickiest jump in the game, I swear. Because you have to make this jump, or you have to kind of cross those ladders there, which are kind of really hard to grab onto. It seems like every time you jump down there, you kind of slip through the cracks. But we were able to take advantage of it there. We jumped off the middle one there, and the rest of this part is pretty straightforward here, as long as we don't accidentally fall. And all I'm doing here is basically hitting shift to fall, and you see that I lost it there, so that's no problem. I'll just have to climb all the way back up and make that jump real quick again. It's a little unfortunate you saw there. Sometimes your guy just straight doesn't catch, but 99.9% of the time it works. It's more the risk of trying to go in this small area here and then having to make that jump afterwards. This is the more tricky one, where we want to hit the ice here and then make this jump, because if you fall down, you have to like hit a panel and then go all the way back across, and you lose like a bunch of time if you fall all the way down to the bottom there. But we did make it to the top, so we're just going to carry on as normal. Not get hit by that guy there. These guys can hit you off the ladders like you saw there, and it can be kind of frustrating. You just have to kind of climb back on. Or sometimes they just kind of won't screw off, and you kind of have to deal with it for a little while. Or sometimes, in rare cases, you have to turn around and shoot the guy. There's a little hole there we have to avoid, and we're going to try and avoid that panel. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. Just a matter of how early you try and get that clip off the top of the ladder there. We're almost at the end of this part of the level. This panel here is the one that activates the gate into Ogle's Fortress here. So with dash, we'll just be able to hit this ladder, hopefully. And I got killed instantly, because this scorpion dude wanted me. We'll try that again. Oh man, okay, so we got spawned a ways back here, so that's no problem. We'll just have to do that clip again. It's unfortunate to take a death there. There's really no way to foresee that scorpion guy. I've never seen him kind of come into the garage entrance like that before, so try and go forward this time, see if we get it a bit faster. There we go. So we'll go to this gate that we just opened here. We don't have to worry about killing this guy, even though we are kind of low on health here. That makes me a little bit nervous. We are going to choose one of these white lines to do an out of bounds, basically, and we got it right away. And this kind of brings us into the last section of the game here, so time's going to be coming up in about a minute here. All we basically have to do in this last section now is basically, in theory, we got all our Alpha Team members to the end of the level where Ogle's hiding in his fortress. So I'm going to take my Tundra Tracker, which basically has one of the better fire rates and is honestly easiest to control when you're doing this fight, because you can kind of just stay back like this. If you get too close to him, he'll like basically shock you, and you take like a lot of damage. You can see his gun, though, is like really powerful, though, as well. Or sorry, he doesn't shock you, he freezes you there. His gun's really powerful as well, so it's pretty easy to die. I'm probably, it looks like based on my health now, I'm going to take a death. Maybe not, though. Time is coming up in... And time. So that is LEGO Alpha Team Arctic Mission. A nice, short and sweet speedrun there. A bunch of clips, really fast-paced, like I said. It's a lot of fun to play, in my opinion. And I think a lot of kids, you know, born in the late 90s or in the 90s at all, pretty much that grew up playing Flash games on LEGO.com, I've definitely heard of this game before. Like I said, I find it a lot of fun. It's certainly a nostalgic memory for me, but just want to thank everybody for watching and for tuning into LEGOthon as well, and for everybody's donation so far. I'll be sure to add my share here shortly as well, and yeah, we're doing it for a good cause, so thanks a lot for everybody for putting it together and having me on today.